Shares and the largest cryptocurrency exchange platform in the US down in regular trading, and Coinbase continued that decline after earnings came out moments ago. To break down Coinbase's performance and cryptos overall, I'm joined by Ellis, partner at MoffettNathanson. Thank you for joining us. So as we digest some of this data then, a miss on revenue, a beat on adjusted earnings per share, what do you see as the biggest strengths and weaknesses in this quarterly report?
Yeah, I'd say the biggest strength is probably looks like the MTU number. That's the monthly transacting users number that came in at 9.2 million. That was down sequentially from a little over 11 million in the fourth quarter, which was expected. But notably, that's still up year on year. So, we sort of gone through this huge peak, but the MTUs is probably the most critical health metric for Coinbase as they're sort of weathering this crypto winter. They want to keep their core users active and engaged. They also highlighted a little bit further down in the shareholder letter that they've now got over 50% of the users, those MTUs, engaging in more than one product. So they're not just buying tokens, they're also staking or using some of the payment products, for example. So the user base health remains pretty solid. On the other hand, for sure, on the weak side was just the downtick in revenues. I mean, the street was expecting, of course, a pretty severe downtick sequentially, but it was worse than expected, down over 50% quarter to quarter, going from Q4 into Q1, and is actually a bit down year on year. So so that's, that was probably, that was obviously expected to be down, but it was down a bit sharper. I have to dig through a little bit of what's going on underneath the covers there.
And so let's take a step back and take a look at what else Coinbase is doing. I mean, you talk about their plan to diversify revenue streams, things like staking, custody, Coinbase Cloud. How important will those aspects be for growth in this environment?
Yeah, really important for growth. And really, so those other services that you mentioned, what they refer to as S&S or subscription and services, were 13% of net revenues this quarter. That's up from 12% last quarter and 8% the quarter before that. So we're slowly seeing diversification in their revenue stream, which we'd really like to see. And certainly during this next couple of quarters where they're going through, a downturn in the crypto market, they're actively investing to diversify their business away from the volatile trading business. And in our view, that's essential both for the stability in the stock, but also just for diversification of the business more broadly, that we see that going forward. So that's not just the staking is the biggest product there, but it's also some of these other ones you mentioned, like Coinbase Cloud, which is their Microsoft Azure style product for developers in the crypto ecosystem, and then other products like the Coinbase Wallet, which is a hard wallet, a self-custody wallet. Also things like their payments products. They're starting to do, cash in, cash out type of wallet capabilities to enable payment with crypto, some other services like that.
And so obviously we've got a barrage of crypto exchanges and out there. I mean, we saw just in the Super Bowl ads, FTX, eToro, Crypto.com, it really highlights how many of these exchanges and brokerages are out there. How does Coinbase stack up against its competitors?
Yeah, it's a good question. Actually, there's over 300 crypto exchanges listed out there, in the crypto world. Coinbase, clearly one of the largest of those. Where they're very differentiated is that they are the largest Western player in the sense of more regulated player. So they operate in a fully regulated environment. Licensed properly, et cetera. And they're the largest of those. So if you think of players like a Kraken or Gemini, for example, Coinbase's volumes are at least 4 or 5 times larger and many times 10 times larger than those players. And when you're an exchange, right, volume and scale matters a lot in terms of your ability to match trades, et cetera. So it's a pretty, that moat is a pretty strong competitive advantage. And then relative to those players, like you mentioned, like an FTX, who are more, they kind of they have a lot of volume typically, but they kind of come out of a less regulated environment. So, they have more difficulty operating in countries like the US or the UK or Canada.
Just very quickly, obviously, a lot of people seeing what's happening with the crypto sell-off, wondering, should I invest or is it better to invest in the blockchain companies? What do you see as the key inflection points coming up for crypto?
For the ecosystem, so for the companies, for sure, some of the resolution of some of the outstanding regulatory issues would help a lot. It's a big overhang for investors that are interested in investing in the space. So specifically things like resolution by the SEC and other agencies as to whether or not crypto tokens are going to ultimately be treated as securities or as something else. So, and how that will then impact the exchanges like Coinbase and its peers. That's an essential one. So some of these big kind of regulatory milestones. And then, more broadly, I'd say, just across, look, the crypto assets remain quite speculative assets, of course. And so just in the broader macro environment, we need stability in the interest rate environment. We need stability in inflation, et cetera, to kind of move the whole market back into a more of a risk on, having a little bit more risk appetite. But realistically, that's probably going to be a few quarters. So, if you're hodling your crypto, you have to be prepared to kind of sit it out and wait here for a few quarters. But with a company like Coinbase, who we absolutely love as one of the major Western infrastructure providers in the crypto space, if you can stomach the volatility and handle a multi-year time horizon, we would view these sharp pullbacks in the current environment as an unbelievably attractive entry point into a really quality name in the space.
All right, everyone, see if you have the stomach for it. A big thank you, as always, to our guest, Lisa Ellis, their partner at MoffettNathanson. Thank you.